Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Next Level Real Talk Podcast, where we have conversations on the journey of personal transformation and the pursuit of lasting peace and happiness with Sheldon and David. And welcome back, everyone. If you're watching, you'll notice that we have a guest back, our special friend. Awesome, Lukas. Welcome back, Lukas. Thank you so much
Welcome
for
back.
coming on
Hey,
back.
thank y'all for having me back on.
You know what? Last time you were on, it was awesome. We had a great time, and the people out there, I think, it had a great response. We actually ended up having a record number of views, almost double what we've had before. And so, it was amazing and it was awesome to watch. And uh, I think it was the Lucas tribe, a lot of people, but also just what we were talking about and you were talking about. I think it drew a lot of people in, and it was really exciting to see. Um, and I think I was tripping out about the fact that we were getting these, increase in viewership and stuff, which, if anybody has, and those of you who have listened to these podcasts know that it's come up for me before where I've been like, shit, nobody's watching or whatever, and freaking out and getting in my head and getting in my ego. Um, I think I had the thing where, I was tripping out that nobody's watching. Or I was tripping out that everybody was watch. I wanted everyone to watch, but I was afraid that they were going to watch what I was saying and freak out or something like that. Like I had this weird thing about I didn't want anybody to hear what I had to say, especially on the one that was talking about my life. I didn't want anybody to hear it, but then was freaking out that nobody was watching, and I was having all kinds of stuff. And Lucas, you said something to me. What was it that you said? It was just about receiving, right?
Right. Accepting and kind of receiving that positive out of it. And,
Yeah.
I'm very happy that anybody that was willing to listen to it that I sent it to brought my wolf pack into it to participate and watch and see what we had to say. And also check out the other videos that y'all have put out, the other wonderful videos and Spotify's that y'all have put out as well. So it's, it for when as you were telling me the numbers, it was mind blowing for me too to think of how many people have actually sat there and listened to that almost hour long rant of me just bumbling on. And also after hearing the recording, I was like, oh shit, I actually sound like that, but hey, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is, brother. It's awesome. It's beautiful. But yeah, I think you're saying that, and then you suggested, hey, that could be a topic to talk about, which is this idea of being able to receive love, being able to receive compliments. And it's hard for a lot of us. So even being able to receive success, right? That so many of us self-sabotage in ways, right? That's a thing. So many of us feel like we're not worthy of receiving, of being loved or feeling love, and that can affect our relationships. It can affect your work, your success at work. So it was a great topic idea, and we were talking about um, giving what you have received and stuff like that, and sharing. I think Dave, you had a story about something about that in the kind of an interesting way, but it sort of relates to it. You want to share that, or?
Yeah, it's about like when Lucas was talking about how what we have inside is what we're going to release. Now, if we have love inside, we're going to love out. And was it last Friday? So it was 2 Fridays ago now, a couple weeks ago. I came in and there was a situation in my library which I had specific conversations with 3 people and said, this is what needs to happen. We don't want this to happen. And it was a face on face conversation. And I walked in and none of it's like that conversation never took place. And that put me into an extreme stress mode because I had to get some things done. So I had to stop and take more time, about an hour and a half, to fix that situation and then move on to the stuff that I had a full day of to do. Mm-hmm. And so keyword is blew up. Okay, we'll just go with it. I had some harsh words amongst myself in the library. People heard me, came, made sure I was okay. And I was kind of harsh on them. They weren't the people that did it. And so my anger inside of me to the 2 people that have always been helpful to me, I was angry at them, and it wasn't their fault. And so
they're the last persons that deserved it.
Exactly. because they
Yeah.
were nowhere involved, nowhere near anything. But that anger inside of me flowed out. So what's
Yeah.
inside of you is going to flow out. And I noticed that right away. I was like, wow, that was bad. That's not their problem. But
Yeah.
that anger inside of me is what I'm going to spew out, no
Hmm.
matter what it is. And that was hard. That was an eye opener for me. And I'm like, okay, I need to stop that. You
Hmm.
know, once I was out of the situation, breathe, calm down. It made me realize like, wow, I gotta catch that before it happens again,
Yeah.
and go on off of love, not off of anger. So
Probably boundaries and stuff like that, right? So
mhm.
that people aren't overriding your boundaries and disrespecting you, right? But the bottom line, at least in terms of what we were talking about today, it had to do with
The others, I feel like I hurt those others, and I shouldn't have done that because that was
yeah,
not their problem. Yeah. So
yeah, that what you have inside, what you source from inside, is what you're going to share with the world, right? Is what you're going to be
yeah,
projecting out, what you're going to be letting out. Lucas, what did you call that? You had a great way of saying something about it.
That was something I pulled off. That it was how do you love yourself is how you teach others to love you.
Yeah,
hmm
that's awesome, dude. How you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. That is beautiful. I love that. And there's a whole lot there, right? Just when you to think about in terms of how you relate to yourself. And so many of us, especially when we're looking at healing trauma and stuff like that, and we've talked about, um, I'm a big believer that love heals all things. So unconditional love has that capacity to heal whatever wounds we have. But most of us don't love unconditionally. So looking at you and accepting, I always said that for this came from the way of mastery teaching that the four um, aspects of unconditional love, the best way to describe it in a human terms, that because it's a divine love, is allows all things, accepts all things, trusts all things, and embraces all things. So if you're allowing and accepting and trusting whatever's inside of you, if you can allow that to be, that's loving it unconditionally, that actually heals it. So when people try to push
hmm
aspects of themselves away, like I don't like that part of me, and they push it away or ignore it or bury it, they're actually keeping it inside of them, right? So when you learn how to love yourself fully in all aspects of you, you actually fill up with more love because what you're doing is love. You're sourcing from love towards yourself, and like you said, when you're loving yourself unconditionally, you are teaching others is that's what you're doing, and you radiate that love, and then you naturally, like Dave was saying, you naturally are expressing what you have inside, so then you're expressing that
hmm
type of energy, that energy of unconditional love out into the world. um
There's a as you talk that the thing as you're talking to other people and you're yes we want to love ourselves unconditionally. The problem is we don't. That's a hard thing. So we're not
mhm.
saying that. Oh, this is so easy. Just love yourself unconditionally. You have to work at that because I'm sorry. Every day I had a conversation last night at a graduation party. One of the kids' parent was saying something. I go, yeah, I just don't. No, talking about men. I'll just say that. She's like, you men. I was like, what do we do? She goes, you guys just don't have faith in yourself. You don't think you're good enough. You don't think. Blah, blah. I go, okay, yeah, you're right. I don't think I'm a good. I don't think I'm a good teacher or a good coach. And I'd coach her daughter. She's like, and that's the problem because you're awesome at it. I go, I know. So it's one of those things you have to teach yourself to be unconditionally loving of yourself and know that there's mistakes. And that allows me to love you, Sheldon, unconditionally, but know that there might be quote unquote mistakes. That doesn't mean a negative. It's like, okay, he
Mhm.
has that trait. Okay. But I love the guy unconditionally.
Mhm.
So that's the same thing. So understand loving yourself unconditionally is not the easiest thing, but you could get there. And if if you have that problem like I had, you say, oh, hey, you know what? That's a problem for me.
Mhm.
But I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Um,
There you go.
I'm
There
gonna
you
pull it up
go.
again.
Stuart Smalley, Saturday
Oh
Night Live.
baby,
Oh
you
shit.
know I'm gonna put it in there.
Do you know that one, Lucas? You're too
Oh
young
yes,
for
sir.
it.
Yes, sir. No,
You
I'm not
do.
too young for that. I know it. And doggone it, people like me. No,
And
and on that subject of it, and it might be a silly thing, but every time that we get on the plane to fly and they're going over their typical spiel about where the exits and etc. But one of the things that just always stuck out to me is you have to secure your mask before you help others
Mm.
secure theirs, right? Which,
Oh,
might just be a little tidbit, but sometimes on the plane and heavy in thought on something, it was like, man, I've got to be able to love myself and distribute that love from within before I can love somebody else, because it's one of those things where you don't mind helping other people, and all it's probably easier at times to give people unconditional love opposed to yourself, just kind of like you were saying, David. We're going to be our own toughest critics, and
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I also struggle with is, in a meeting, I'm like, man, I could have said this better, I could have put these slides together better, I could have had this better. And being in the shower and having that imaginative argument with the shower the wash bottles and the shampoo in there, like, man, I really should have did that or this or that. But when you step back and look at the whole, it's like, man, I have been successful on this, I have done better compared to what the past is. But I say it's a common trait for a lot of people that it's just harder for us to want to receive compliments, accept compliments, and to build off that and want to say, hey, you know what, I am doing all right. I am fairly decent at this. I am doing good. But like I said, it's a daily battle and a daily struggle
yeah,
to do that, because it's not just you know what, I love myself. That's it. I
yeah,
won this game. What else is next?
yeah.
World hunger. Let's go get that next. No, man, it's a continuous battle, because just kind of like you were saying earlier, David, you had an opportunity that happened and you let that boil over, and it affected other people. So it's a
Hmm.
it's a constantly staying on top of it. And I don't know anybody that isn't highly medicated. They can just sit there and unconditionally
Amen.
love themselves and others all day, every day. Because at that point, I'm no longer
Amen.
like, what's going on with this person?
Right, right. Somebody
Because
that acts like that, actually, you're like, something wrong with that dude.
something wrong with that person.
Mhm.
But that's
And-
it. It's the knowing, like okay, I did something wrong, and know that, okay, I'm gonna do in our own mind something wrong here, there, whatever it is, and go, okay, I'll work on that to make myself better next time. What do you do in
yeah,
sports? Oh, that wasn't the way I should have done it. I got to fix it for next time. That's the same thing. And if you try to say, "Oh, I want to do this perfectly," well, good luck, because you're going to have a hard life, because it's not perfect. So
yeah,
I like how two things, because I like the analogy between the maths, because that's where you got to help yourself before you can help somebody else. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to help them. Um,
yeah.
and
It's
thank you
so
for saying that
profound
you.
and so simple, right? It's the
Yeah,
mask thing. We fly all the time, and they, you know,
exactly.
put your mask on
So
first before you help anyone.
yeah, so whenever you're flying, that'll come in. You're like, oh, gotta help others. Gotta help others. So
Mhm.
there's your mantra now. And the other one, thanks for saying that you fight with the soap bottles and the shower head, because that's what I do all the time. So it's like having that argument. So I'm not the only one. So
No, no, sir. No, sir.
there's not an insanity. I'm okay.
If those things had arms, I'd get a round of applause all the time from them. That could probably help me be more loving and accepting of compliments of myself, is knowing if I had their support for once. Then I'd probably need to go find out about getting medicated if I
I was
started
gonna say,
seeing
At
if
that
someone
point,
walks in when you're taking a shower, like, why is he talking to the
that.
bottles up there? Just leave me alone. I'm almost
yeah,
done.
you
That's
have to
When they
awesome.
look at.
talk back to me is when I got a problem.
Yeah. What did I eat? Did I eat?
Yeah.
Did I eat the
Oh
magic
my gosh.
mushrooms before I jumped in the shower? What was I doing? I forgot.
That's awesome. But yeah,
Uh,
I like that we're talking about, yes, we want to love ourselves unconditionally so we can love others unconditionally, but how we do ourselves that we can't do it, it's the same as with somebody else. Yes. I mean, I'll talk about my brother. I love my brother unconditionally. I mean, he's my brother, but he has certain traits. It's like, ugh. But then again, that's what I do to myself. So it's like, okay, great. Little thing right there. Just that's who he is. And I've learned to, like, that's who he is. And it's not a negative thing. It's like, okay, that's his trait. And I enjoy that trait
mhm.
sometimes. Sometimes it's a little,
Sometimes it's a bit much, right?
yeah. But it's like, I got to learn to enjoy him. He shouldn't be how I want him to be. He should be who he is. And I should accept him for who he is,
Right.
you
Mhm.
know? And so now sometimes you run into some people that, okay, I can't handle that trait. I can't handle that. That's a different kind of world that I am. So you don't associate with that person. But,
Mhm.
like my dad, stepmom, my brother, it's like those things are kind of hard at times. Like, wait a minute, I'm not gonna have much time left with my dad, stepmom. Let's enjoy this. Maybe
Mhm.
crazy in my world, but that's who they are. And it's like, okay, they're a little loopy, but it's kind of fun to watch. So That's where I think people need to start understanding that. Love yourself unconditionally, but know there's issues. Love others unconditionally, know there's issues. So
And you can
hopefully that
still
makes
have boundaries, right? You can still have
totally.
and again, I think I mentioned it last time too. You know, Brene Brown, she has that beautiful TED Talks where she talks about, and she's written a bunch of books. So if anybody's into her, she's amazing. But you know, she had the research where she said the most boundaried people, when she was researching happy people, the most
Mm-hmm.
boundaried people were the most loving people, because they knew what was acceptable for them. And it goes right back to what Lucas was saying, is how you love yourself becomes an example. You know, if you don't, I don't say that to myself. I don't talk to myself like that. I'm not going to allow you to talk to me like that. Right. You're
Yeah.
actually representing it. But sometimes you actually have to draw those boundaries, you know, and sometimes you have to draw those boundaries, you know, in the sand, so to speak, or you know, make a line about that. There's a kind of a parable in one of these way of mastery, which is another teaching. It was a follow up to the Course in Miracles, and it's supposed to be Jesus. So whether you believe that or not, it's fine. But he's telling this parable about um, if you were planting a garden and the seeds were barely sprouting, and they were these young, delicate sprouts, and you had someone who disrespected your garden, and if they walk, they just walk all over it and stomp all over them. So the loving thing to do would be to build a fence around that garden and to prevent those people who didn't respect where those seedlings were, the state of them, to protect them, right? And he says, and eventually that garden might grow up into be this huge apple tree, you know, and that apple tree is so big and so strong that anybody, it could feed anyone apples, even those who didn't particularly respect it. And because at that point,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a point when the fence can come down and it doesn't matter anymore, almost, because you're so strong that
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
That's
Does that make
cool.
sense? You
Oh,
Oh,
it
know, and I
makes
was
totally.
just,
sense.
and I was like, that is beautiful, you know. And you know, that idea that, you know, at some point we might be all so grounded in our hearts and so much, so you know, connected to source and so strong that we're almost immovable, and it doesn't matter what somebody says. You know, somebody could say something that was really offensive, and you're just like, you know, I hope that you have a better day. You know what I mean? It doesn't offend you anymore, you're not freaked out. But sometimes it's like, hey, I'm not taking that, you know, blah 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 blah. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
we need to draw boundaries, healthy boundaries for ourselves, right? And everyone's
Having
go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead, you're good.
So having your boundaries set in place is very important, because you're going to have people out there that, as you're giving out your love and pieces of yourself, whether it's your time, energy, even money, whatever, you have people that are going to be emotional, physical, money leeches on you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have your
Mm-hmm.
boundaries set in place, and you keep giving and giving and giving, they're going to keep taking and taking and taking until you've drained yourself of everything that you could
Yes.
emotionally, physically help,
Mm-hmm.
money, whatever it is,
Yep.
they will
Yep.
get, they will take everything you can give them. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you turn around and you need help, guess what? They can't help you. Hey man, I'm sorry. I got other stuff going on. I can't do this right now, or I don't have whatever to help you out with, and they'll just leave you high and dry on that.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
And I think that the more you can look at all aspects of yourself, um, and the more that you can see the aspects of you that you might not think are the best aspects, like let's say you have a short temper or whatever, you're temperamental, or you have some triggers, because none of us are perfect, right? We're all, I heard another thing that said, as a human being, we're perfectly imperfect. You know, that's part of the nature of
Amen.
being a human, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, our soul may be beautiful, divine light, but you know, we're running through this life and
Mm-hmm.
fucking things up left and right, doing the best we can.
Right.
You know, it's a swing and a miss. I tried to do good, but I fucked that one up pretty royally. You know, I got nothing but air. Okay, I'll swing again. You know what I mean? But as we're going through, and I got all last track of thought there.
Giving a go again. Continuing to stick it out.
Yeah, that you know, you have to, but you have to be kind to yourself in your talking about that. But we're also talking about looking at that aspect of you that might have screwed up, right? That sometimes we're mean to that part of ourselves, right? sometimes that voice inside you is just like Lucas, you were talking about in the shower, like, sometimes that voice can be like, you suck,
Mm-hmm.
and when we can look at that aspect of ourself and talk a little more kindly to ourselves, even to that part, and say, okay, you didn't do so great, but you'll do better next time, like David, right? When we talk about that self-talk becoming a little more positive than it was, I think that when you can see the aspects of yourself that are negative and see them
Mm-hmm.
with love and compassion, lovingly and compassionately, um, it allows us to see more clearly the things outside of us that are also
Mm-hmm.
not so loving more clearly. In other
Yes.
words, the more clearly you see all of you, the more clearly you see outside. It's the same thing as what you have inside, how you're loving yourself is the model for how you're teaching other people to love you. It's how you see inside you helps you to see more clearly outside you as well. So, in
Mm-hmm.
other words, when you can see your dark shadows, you can see the shadows in other people more clearly too. So you don't get
Mm-hmm.
caught up in their games as easily.
Hmm.
Yeah.
In other words, the codependency or whatever it is, where you're always giving and they're always taking, when you can see those dynamics within your own self, you start to go, hey, wait a second. That person's got this trait where they just seem to take all the time. You know what I mean? But to
Yeah.
me, it always starts with how you see yourself and how clearly you can look inside. And the more you do that, everything outside is like a mirror, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
you start to
Yeah.
see it clearly. So because those, Lucas, you brought up that codependency, which is what I think they call it, right? Because that's a dynamic where there are people that are just takers, right? They're just
Yep.
takers, and they're looking for people
Mm-hmm.
that are givers. And those people that are givers, they're gonna leech onto, and they're gonna suck them dry, and then you're just going to go to the next relationship, right? And they're not
Mm-hmm.
doing that consciously necessarily. Some of them are, if they were like sociopathic or whatever, but some of them are just that's how they are. They're in loving relationships, and I need somebody that understands me or whatever, right? And then people just don't seem to get me, and you know what I mean. And they just suck that person dry, and they go to the next relationship or whatever it is. And it can be also money and stuff like that, right? But it can also just be emotional energy and mental energy and attention, right? People that just suck you dry of every bit of your energy and attention.
And
And good.
and sometimes, okay, a situation I had again last week, the week before, it was a tough week. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of experiences. I could probably write a whole book on it. Forget a chapter, write the whole freaking book. Um, what and sometimes those asking stuff aren't doing it in a codependent or a negative way at times. Like for me, and I'm not bragging, I'm just saying because this is who I am. When someone gives me a job, I get it done and I do it right. I want to, I'll sit there and I'll tweak something that they need me to print. Oh, that doesn't look right. And I'll fix it for them and do it. They know that I'll do a good job. And so, which is a good thing. Um, People will send me stuff and I like to get stuff done when it comes to me. If I don't have something going on, I'll get it done. But it almost became an expected, like, oh, he'll get it done right away for us. Oh, he'll get it done right away for us. And so
Or do
I
they
would want,
start sending you in shit that's all fucked up, expecting you to edit it and fix it?
so
Does it get
someone,
sloppier? It's sloppier, the shit they're
yeah.
giving you. Here,
So,
Dave,
so
make a
for,
certificate out of this, and it's all
so
wacky.
for me,
They know that
I'm the
you're going to
only,
line it all up
yeah,
and
I'm
make
the
it
only
beautiful.
librarian that does certificates, that does poster printing. Okay, does some extra stuff because it's all in the library. Go figure. And the person that used to do certificates, she's no longer there, and all it is the name, the year, and the sport. There's nothing else on a piece of paper because it prints out on a pre-printed or pre-made certificate. So that's a detailed thing. I love details, so that gets me in trouble right there. So I love that detail, so I do it, and so which is fine. I don't do it. So beginning of the year, I talked to the coaches. I said I need this, this, and this. And when you send me the names, I need first name first, last name last, and I need it in a Word document. Otherwise, it takes more time. So sometimes they don't listen. They send it, last name first, first name last. Don't tell me what they want their sport to be called. Because is it boys basketball or just basketball? Do you want girls volleyball or just volleyball? Um, so it's details that make it so quick for me. So the last week, and I always say 3 to 4 day turnaround. And so all of a sudden on Tuesday, I get an email. Hey, can we have these certificates? I'm like, for Thursday night banquet. I'm like, I'm already stressed out because I was gone for 3 days. And
Like
I'm like,
it's Thursday morning or
yeah,
Wednesday night.
I'm like, what the hell? It was Tuesday morning, so I had but I had other stuff to do. I'm like, I seriously set my boundaries. Said, guys, I will get this done, but I cannot promise by Thursday. And I sent it to the boss, to a carbon copy. I said, I have things to do. I go, I will get on it, but give me time. And one of the coaches had the names first name last name first. I was like, oh, it takes time. And so I emailed him and said, I don't know if I'll get them done. I go, if I get these other things done, I'll work on yours. So I do have parameters that I need to go back to. I set them, but then I kind of went away from them. And then with the stuff in the library itself, we just, me and my boss and a couple other people were like, let's just set. We had a beginning. One of my bosses says, hey, let's just do a form. This is the way it is. This is how the library should look when it's done. When you walk away, it should look like this picture. And we never did it. We all got busy, So it's like, you know what? We're going to do that. And IT, it's funny how people come to your help. IT sits down, they go, okay, so I heard you had a problem this morning. Yeah, we're talking a little bit. And they go, okay, here's what we're thinking of doing. Because if I do a help desk, it goes straight to help desk email, not to someone's email. I go, what if we did a dedicated line for print jobs, North High School? And you would know exactly who sent them to you and in that order. Like Sheldon, you need yours in 5 weeks. You send it to me today. Lucas, you need yours by Monday. You send it to me tomorrow. Sorry, Lucas. Sheldon got that to me first, and I'm gonna get his job done first. So it's kind of like, hey, there's
all jobs will be done in the order they were received.
Exactly. So it's that stepping back and going, okay, so we did have some boundaries, but we let them go a little bit. Let's just be more strict now. So again, setting yourself the boundaries and just knowing that I'm going to be doing that has this week has been totally relaxed. So it's a totally different world.
There's a thing about have you heard that? Don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Exactly.
Right.
And P.S. By the way, P.S. I love my job as a library. Even though I have some things.
In case your boss is listening. By the way, I actually like the way we're. I'm just bitching about last week.
You've got a meeting on Tuesday. You're going to have a meeting.
I know. Could you come to the principal's office at 2:00, please? Bring your keys.
That podcast you've been doing, we heard some shit.
We need to have a talk. You was talking shit, David. Come on in here. Let's have a sit down.
I'll tell you something very hilarious. So I had a meeting with the principal and assistant principal for graduation. They're going over script and stuff. I walk in and I sat down and I go, hey, I kind of went off today. They go, yeah, we're just going to ask how you're doing. We heard. I'm like, oh, son of a biscuit. I heard. I go, so that went downhill, kind of like, hey, you may want to check in on Smitty. He's having a kind of a tough day.
News spreads fast when Dave loses it.
Like, dang it, the principal already knows. but it wasn't what's your problem? What's going on? It's like, hey, how you doing? Just how are you? Checking in, and then went right into graduation. So I was like, well, that's all you need. Is someone go, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
So I do love my job as a librarian. That's just it has quirks. So.
We need a little more structure and some boundaries to be respected.
So the boundaries thing is really going to help me. I mean, it's just not boundaries. Just like, hey, here's the guidelines to help things run smooth. So exactly what we're talking about.
And there are people that are like we were talking about, like givers and takers, right? But there are also people that seem to be, and probably those are the takers. They seem to be kind to themselves and really demanding of everybody else. And then there are those that are really kind to everyone else and demanding of themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? Where like Lucas, you might be like, somebody screws up, Royal. You're like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I got you. It's okay. Right. And then
we'll fix it.
You do the minorest little thing and your head is like blowing up. What the fuck? I can't believe you did that. You suck. And whatever it is, your brain is just going off on you. Is that right?
For me at times sometimes on a daily basis, I will sit there and just be like, look, you're being a dumb bitch right now. You need to get this better. You need to do this better. And it's like I was saying earlier, I am my own toughest critic, and I will sit here and absolutely beat myself up in my head. And if somebody sees me kind of, being withdrawn in my little bubble, not really being my typical self. Hey, look, what's going on? Man, I have this up and then da 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 and da 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 da. Hey man, you're doing all right. Don't be so hard on yourself. Then I kind of have to actually not be hard on myself. Be like, you know what? I'm still knocking X, Y, and Z out the park. I'm still getting this stuff done. But at times, personally, I don't feel like I'm performing as I should or getting all these items on this punch list done that I need to be doing, Because, like just kind of as we're talking about setting with these boundaries, man, it's easy for people to want you set yourself on fire to keep them warm. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've struggled really hard with the past couple
That's
of years.
awesome.
Is everybody's wanting some of me, and I'm giving, 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 doing everything I can to help appease everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of it, I'm not appeasing myself. I'm just taking on these, whether it's list, having these extra workloads or having to do this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it, and I'm just because I want to help people. I want to appease everybody and help
Mm-hmm.
however I can. But also at the same time, I've had to step back and realize I can't continue doing everything for everybody because at the end of the day, then I'm shot and I've got nothing to give when I get
Hmm.
home. I don't have that peace when I get home. I just come home and I can be like, God dang, man, I'm worn out. I'm drug out. I've
Mm-hmm.
been kicked every which way, but into a good mood. But like I said, it's still a continuous working on thing, realizing what you're seeing and what's happening, and putting
Yeah.
that stake in the ground to say, hey, you know what? I'm putting my fence right here, so that way, next time y'all come running over about this, and I've already got a million things going on, I'm going to tell you, hey, you can put it on my calendar. We shoot me an email about this, but as of me pivoting my priorities right now, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Lucas, what was that you said? Set yourself on fire?
Yeah,
I
sir.
want to write this down.
I'm not going to set myself on fire to keep others warm.
That's another.
Just so you know, I'm using that quote quite a bit.
Go
He
ahead.
wrote a
Go
bunch of
ahead.
yours down from last time too, I think, right? Right, Dave?
Yeah,
Right.
right. The
What's Lucas?
that is
He was
so cool. I
taking
love
notes.
that.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it. Yeah, because that's what we do. Because we make ourselves because we're the kind of people that want to help. I want to get it done. But then again, wait a minute. If I'm stressing out and they're just relaxing, no, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to make it
Yeah.
all work. And I
Yeah.
like how you were talking, Lucas, about when you get home, you don't have that energy, which is sad because if you have roommates, you have a spouse, you have a partner, whatever it is, a dog, they're not going to get that love that you really have because you're like going, oh, I'm so tired, and you almost take it out on them, which is kind
Right.
of sucks because they were nowhere near the problem. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's that anxiety, that inside problem that we bring to others. And I am one of those that does that. It's like at home, you're like, but wait a minute. I look back, like that wasn't their problem, but we're letting that be their problem. And so I think to add on to that a little bit, if you're having those days that you're talking about, Lucas, when you're coming home or before you come home, do a little guided visualization that we talked about last week. Do those visualizations. Gonna may not calm you totally down, but at least when you get home, you can say, okay, I can relax a little bit. Don't do the guided visualization on the way home because you got to close your eyes. Do that before you get home.
Well,
Before you.
like the last time that I was on, that's where that punching bag really comes in handy for me. That
Hmm,
I can
good
get
point.
home and be distasteful and take out all that stress, all that burden, all that anger, and channel it into something healthy and productive on that punching bag, and not take it out on somebody verbally to let
Yeah.
them be the verbal punching
Yeah.
bag or just start spewing all my negativity at them. It's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna hit that bag. I'm gonna wear myself out, so that way I reset, I recenter,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
get realigned with everything, so I can come back out into general population and say, hey, sorry about earlier. I was a little worked up. I had to get it out. I'm feeling better now. Let's talk about dinner.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like if you tell her ahead of time, hey, I'm coming home. I'm gonna hit the punching bag. That she knows. Okay, give him his 10 minutes, whatever minutes, however long you need to do it, and
She
then
knows she
I
got it
know.
for him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So so that
There's
she
wisdom
knows
right
that you
there.
got it out.
Hey,
I know, right?
how about we buy you one of these things?
So she knows that he's getting that out. And it's like, okay, if he has that 10, 15 minutes, what do you mean taking 10, 15 minutes? No, that's going to mean the rest of the night's going to be a great night. So that's one of the things. And I got to add on, we talked about before setting boundaries. This week, I can't tell you how many times I did this. I was doing emails because it was graduation week. So there's a lot of stuff going on, got to bounce back and forth. And I'm typing something. And and by the way, everybody has to come to the library to get signed off before they can get their last paycheck. I'm like, oh my God. So, which is good. At first I was like, do you hate that? I go, actually, no, just say hi to everybody and have a good summer. But it gets stressful. So they're coming in. I'm like, can you give me one? I'm going to just finish this email. Sin. And I turn and look right at him. What do you need from me? And it was so awesome for me to take up my own advice, by the way. It's about time I take my own advice. And that helped me just be unstressed in that situation, because there's a lot. Every kid had to get checked off, every senior, and every staff member had to get checked off. And so
That's a lot
obviously
of people,
Lily,
man.
yeah, Lily helped a lot. I mean, Lily's a lot, but they also have other questions that they
Yeah.
need to have answered. So people were very respectful when I said, "Hey, can you just let me finish this line real quick, and I'll send it, and I'll be ready." And they would just stand there. They wouldn't get, how some people say, "Okay, I'll wait." And so, David, just so you know, it's like,
Yeah.
I said, wait. None of them. They all respected it 100%.
That's beautiful.
So, and made my life so much more calm and relaxed last week. So it was
So
awesome.
if you're listening, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
I like
All
my
y'all
job
north.
and thank you.
So that was
Two
good.
things from David were taken away from this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's good. So, yeah. So I love the setting boundaries thing, and just accepting self the whole week. It was like I was happy inside, and so people knew that I was happy outside.
Yeah.
So it was a great week. So I'm glad we are talking about this subject, because it's like indirectly real life for what I had last week. So thank you, Lucas, for talking about this stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I also have this other image that I like to think about, which is that idea of the cup runneth over, my cup runneth over. That when we're already filled up with love and the cup is running over, it's easier to be loving to other people without feeling drained, because you're giving of the overflow.
Yeah.
Right? If your cup is running over and you're pouring water or feeding water to people from the overflow, because it's like a fountain constantly pouring into that thing, then you're fine. But if your cup isn't running over and it's, I got 3 sips left and I give each one of you a sip, then I got like nothing left. That's what happens to us, right? And we have to manage and be aware of that. And that's, I think, what we're ultimately talking about, right? And then the goal is to get to that place where the cup is running over, right?
Yeah.
And when the cup is running over, then we won't feel that. We won't hit that nearly as much. Let's put it that way, right? But we have to manage our energy, manage our minds and our thoughts, and manage all of these things. Manage the amount of activities that we do, right? Like Lucas, you were saying, and I know Dave is one of those dudes who's always pulled in a million different directions, right?
Yeah.
Managing and learning how to say no, right, is a part of setting boundaries. Learning how to say no, learning how to, and say no kindly, right? You can still be kind and don't, like I said,
Polite, respectful about it, but still no.
But still clear and concise. No,
Yes.
clear boundaries, right? And learning how to do that for ourselves is managing that, our kind of like our reservoir of energy, and so that we can be there for the people in our lives that we care about, right?
Yeah.
Our partners, or spouses, or friends, and our family and stuff like that, where we're not just, I had a manager I was training, and similar to Lucas's thing, he would actually sit in his car, he said, and do like a meditation type thing. But he would get home, and he said some nights he would get home and he would park in the garage and he wouldn't get out of the car for like 20 minutes. Because he just gave himself this time to mentally process everything that had gone on during his day, and to sort of just spend some time with it and release it, so that he didn't bring it into his house with his family. He said sometimes he would just drive around the block, but he goes a lot of times, because it was almost easier for him to be parked, so he could actually think about it without worrying about driving. That sometimes it would just take a couple spins around the block. But he said if it was really intense, he goes, I would just literally have to pull into the garage and just sit there in the garage. And it just gave him a space and a place to just be with whatever was coming up for him, and to sort of process it. He had told me that, and I had taught him this Golden Sun meditations as a tool for that, processing that. So that's how it came up for him, was that, he needed a way to sort of almost switch gears from work life to home life kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, I got all this stuff at work. It's all intense. It's how do I shift so I'm not like that with my wife or my kids or my partner or anything, or, that kind of thing. So it's kind of cool that Kaylee did that. It was kind of wisdom there, right?
Yes, sir.
I
Then
I think
she was the same one that gave me that info of don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Because when she
Yeah.
hit me with it, I was absolutely floored. I was like, "Oh damn, that's one of my euphemism or terms of expression of like, oh, that just makes so much sense, but it's so simple."
Yeah, that's beautiful. It really is. It's powerful stuff. That is cool. That is cool, cool, cool. Maybe we're gonna have to pull her on here and have her talk to,
Hey,
huh?
Dave, man, y'all go have at it. Have at it.
That would be awesome. Um, do we? So, what's the homework? I think we're getting to
well,
that place,
well,
Dave.
real
Or if
quick.
you,
Like
okay,
talking about because you were what you were talking on kind of brings back to the homework. By the way, hey, that worked out well. And people, this is not scripted. I'm telling you, that's why I'm thinking through this thing, and that's going to work well. The so as you were talking about him doing that 20 minutes, stopping for 20 minutes, or going around the block, um, yeah, that helped going around the block. But I'm thinking to myself, if you're in that, it could take 20 minutes. It could take like if you did last episode and you started doing the guided visualization, the golden sun meditation. That was I think you said 7 minutes was the one. It was a little
yeah,
bit
the
longer
one I
than
recorded and posted was 7 minutes, and I wanted it to be 3, so I might end up re-recording it and posting
okay.
or something. We'll see.
So
But
yeah, so know that that one's 3 to 7 minutes, and that gets you through a whole relaxation. But if you go through the first part and you start feeling your shoulders relax and you feel your body relax, that could be it. That's all you need because now you've already let some of that go.
yeah,
So it could be the I'm gonna do the whole meditation, or uh, now I feel myself relaxed. I can walk inside and let that go to tomorrow and move on to the next part. So it may take the 20 minutes. It may take one and a half. I don't know.
yeah,
So know and that leads us into our last week's homework. Hopefully, had time to do some of the visualizations, sometimes do parts of the meditation, and you felt it and you got relaxed, and hopefully you got to do it at least a couple times a week. If not, hopefully got to the point where you're doing it every day because it does help. Sometimes some people need it before work, some people need it after
5
work.
times a day. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
I'm the
So we're
hard
working them
ass.
up. Yeah, I know. I know.
Dave's the
He
nice guy. He's
he
working them up. I'm like, no, 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 no,
he
no,
wants
no.
you swimming a mile
I
on the first
started
day
I
of swim
started like
practice.
9 times a day at least, and fuck that bullshit. If you're gonna do it, do it. Go hard. Dave's like, hey, now this is about
So
love
now
and
we're going to go in
compassion.
between. So there's
All right,
good
whatever.
good cop, bad cop. You know, but he's right. For me, guess what I did? I mean, I did it every hour. I had a bell system, which was thankful. Every class, I took a minute and I breathed. So if you can do that, yes, do it. But hopefully you've done more at that. If you haven't, I hope you're working your way up to it. Um, so so this week, I guess our homework would be more see where you are inside. Take that visualization, that guided visualization, or on yourself. Just go, where am I? You know, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Get yourself into that. I'm okay. And yes, you're going to make mistakes, but when you do, it's okay. What can I do here? Where am I at? Am I going to be okay to people today, or am I going to be
Am I
that
putting
angry
my
person today?
mask on first?
Yeah, that's it. I got to put my mask on, then I can
Is
help
my
others.
mask on firmly?
Yeah. So are you? So this week, look inside yourself and say, okay, where am I at? How do I
Take
get
a
myself to be more calm and more unconditionally loving myself?
yeah.
And if something does happen in your mind, you're mad at yourself, like I was last week. If you get to that point, say, okay, that's a stop and interrupt it. Just stop it and go, okay, that was not what I wanted. But let's move on and not affect others around me, and then go from there. So kind of just pay attention to yourself, basically, and know what's inside.
And not to get all weird about the golden sun, I did talk about this in the last episode where I describe it. I'm a big believer that the light is real,
Mm-hmm.
that it's esoteric in the sense that most of us can't see it, but there are people that can actually see it. And they used to be called seers, and then they became heretics, and then they were all executed by the church and stuff like that. So, in the West, that vision, the ability to see those things, has been shut down more than in the East. In the East, there are still tons of people that can see the light, but the light is real. So when you're feeling that light, that golden light is a light of transmutation. What it does is it takes energies, lower energies, and it transmutes it. And so you can feel that. Excuse me. So that's why when you're doing the meditation, and if you're sitting in your car and you pull up and you're feeling all that anger, you're feeling something, and you do the golden sun and you feel the golden sun, you'll actually feel it like burn up. It literally will go away. And so I think I had guys that were like, I just do that. I do the go out sun until I feel better. When I'm done, when I feel better, all that anger goes away, and I kind of like, oh, I feel better, and then they go about their day. So just get to the sun, feel the sun radiate, feel it burning up stuff. And these are dudes that were not into any. I didn't even say that to them. They're just like, hey, dude, just try this, see what happens. And they're like, yeah, man, that freaking thing works. I'm like, cool, have a good day. So it works, and I don't explain. Sometimes I'm wondering if I'm tripping people out by explaining how I see it. But I will tell you it works. Like, it works. It feels, you literally feel an energy shift. There's a difference in the energy you feel. And so and again, we don't need to get into the transmutation, what that is, but it's taking that energy and shifting it, right? So, taking the anger, frustration, whatever it is, and shift it into a form of love, instantly, without having to process it mentally. So that's what that does. It can be very fast in terms of the ability to make you feel better. So it's definitely worth playing with.
Yeah. Cool. I like
And
that.
do it at least 5 times a day. God damn it! I'm kidding.
There you go.
I had to get it out, Dave. I couldn't not do it.
I know.
or one, or as many as you can. A couple times a week. Fine. I don't know. That's whatever.
Let's start. Like the long ones, obviously can't do all the time, but you can get that little quick ones in. Do them. Because I'm a big time believer in Sheldon's policies. More times a week. That if I wasn't able to do that in school, then I would have had issues. But even my kids knew that. Give him that minute. Give him that time. He'll come right back a whole another person. So.
If y'all don't mind, can I assign some extra credit to all listeners and viewers out there?
100%.
So, and once again, this is just extra credit for y'all. But I want you to tell people no this week and help set some boundaries where you need to start setting boundaries.
Oh, dude.
So bare minimum, why don't you tell a couple people no? Politely, respectfully, probably not your boss or somebody above you, but tell some people no. Just tell them no. Start setting your boundaries where you need to, because it's never too late. Because what you don't want to do is wait too long to set your boundaries, and then you've had someone that's been used to running in and out of your garden, trampling everything.
Yep.
And just try it out. Tell some people no. Set your boundaries.
And if you're gonna, we'd love to hear the feedback, comments. That does help the old algorithm. So like and subscribe, please. If you're interested in hearing this kind of stuff, thank you, Lukas. That was awesome.
Thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all wanting to have me back on.
Dude, we love having you back on.
Yeah.
So
good talk.
Who knows?
I'm learning stuff from you, man.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one that talks in the shower. I don't sing, because then everything would run.
You're not alone. You are not alone.
No, you're not alone. You're having...
I won't even talk about my rap battles that I have in there, but that's a different topic.
You're coming back for that one, brother. We're gonna.
No, we're not.
I can't wait till Lucas and I are texting like, dude, did your soap talk back to you today? Talk back to me today. What's going on? Are you okay? Am I okay? Lucas will be on our own TV show, reality show. We're like, yeah, these are the two that talk to soap.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Do your homework
and extra credit
as best you can, and your extra credit especially. It's awesome, and we will see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Lucas, for being here. Great to see you.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all for everything.
Have a great week and smile on.
It's awesome.